Hey Somerville, it's Janet Cormier. We are back at Art at Scat. We have a new place, new digs, at least for now, and it's very nice, very cozy, very Cosmo. And that's perfect for the kind of artwork we're going to see today because we have another wonderful, fabulous Somerville artist, and I tracked him down like I do and brought him here, and he was protesting, but now I give you Keith Maddie.
Hi.
It is so good to have you here.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that you did track me down and that you were persistent and you got me in.
Yeah, he's chained. You don't see it, but he's chained to the chair there
Yeah.
so he doesn't get around.
Yeah.
I just loved your work. I love the abstraction. I love your use of color. Uh, what do you have a name for your style, or do you?
Well, I think it's really referred to as mixed media slash collage because I do some strictly collage work, a lot of strictly collage work. But then I have other pieces, like these two examples here.
Well, let me back up for 1 minute. When you
Yeah.
say collage, for people who don't know, when you're saying collage and mixed media, explain a little bit.
Yeah. For me, anyways, collage is strictly papers
Okay.
and gluing down paper. You know, like this piece here, which is,
Okay.
and what I use is all vintage materials. And I use vintage materials because of the colors that I'm attracted to, and also the quality of the paper for gluing.
Are those comic book pages, or what?
Some are from comic books, some are from old children's books, old school books.
Some of it looks like it's part of a spaceship. Over here in the corner there with the star.
Well, actually, there is a star, but there's a horn pointing up at that star.
Oh.
So it was a astrological
Oh, okay.
part of the sky. And then the wonderful thing about collage is things get cropped and edited, and so these are actually ornaments,
Oh, all right.
tips of ornaments, which suddenly you can't really see that anymore.
It's beautiful the way you balance it.
Thank you.
And I like the scale. It seems to be consistent even with your other work, that you have a certain size that you like to work with.
I do, because it's like lap size. It's manageable. But my work really does vary from everything from, I make a whole series of Christmas cards every year that are very unique. They're all one of a kind, all using vintage materials. So from that size up to, I have mixed media paintings that are 4 feet long. And so the mixed media for me entails using paint, graphites, drawing on top of something else. And the reason why I might call it collage influenced is because all of my work usually starts from something else, from another pre-existing image or pattern, which might come from a vintage textile, floor linoleum, wallpaper, an old, you know those tacky old paintings that you find at flea markets or the Salvation Army?
Yes, yes. That will sometimes be my artwork in years to come, but that's okay.
But those are like, not just anyone will do. I have to look at it and see within it the transformative abilities that I see in it, as far as the color that is present, the shapes, and not just the obvious shapes that are created in that, but the negative shapes, the things that I can pull out and use.
Well, which would be another example? Are these also from vintage?
Well, these two smaller pieces are
Yes.
from collages,
Okay.
small collages that I had printed onto tiles.
Okay.
And I did that for Open Studios last year as an experiment at something that was perhaps a little more affordable than buying an original piece, and somewhat decorative.
And in fact, you've used them in our show. So that will be in Somerville.
Yeah.
That will be in Somerville very soon. Like
Yep.
starting, it's already started.
Yeah.
We're starting now. So April to part of May.
Yeah.
So you all know where Scat Gallery is.
Yes.
And you could send in mail, and maybe you could get him to do a reception. I don't know, but in case he did, no pressure. But the work is wonderful, and the color, the balance. And I love that you do vintage. I've had other artists come in and use vintage, but because you're artists, everyone uses it differently.
Right.
And I still collect a lot of vintage stuff, and I love ephemera, which is collectible paper.
Exactly.
So we can talk later.
Okay.
And then you have this piece,
Yeah.
which is the same principle of.
Yep. I mean, this piece, the original image, is again a small collage.
Smaller than this?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And it was blown up a little bit to fit onto the size of this tile. And the only part of this, the original, that is not papers. Actually, there's mostly paper, but there's also some textile in this. The circles are actually textiles from a vintage woman's handkerchief.
Wow.
But there, like as you said, there are 7 of the tiles here on display, and very, very affordable for people for Mother's Day or
That's right. Want to
Mother's
get mom
Day.
something nice.
or Open Studios. Stop by during Open Studios.
Yes, they are very available. And the colors, I love your palette. I know it's very unique, but you keep the same palette, it seems like, from what I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm. Well, my palette, I guess I'm a child of the 60s. I was born in 64. So growing up, I think it was, those colors have been instilled in my subconscious. And so when I go out and about and look for materials, I am still very attracted to this part of my adolescence.
And when I see this piece, I think of, because now they're playing Batman again
Yeah.
and Wonder Woman, and for some reason it reminds me of the backgrounds that
Like
they do for.
Pow!
Yeah.
Shazam!
But when she switches over to her clothing, it's those colors that come in that remind me of the early Wonder Woman, well, not the real early, but some of the stuff 60s
Yeah.
of Wonder Woman comic books, and just I love the colors that they used. And it was on a paper that could hold it, but not shiny.
Exactly.
So it was good stock. It was interesting stock
Yep.
to use. Now it might be a little too crisp to use, but I like that how those comic books felt.
Yes.
And then the covers were always nice and thick.
Yep. And Janet, for exactly the reason that you just stated, those materials are, for me anyways, are much more easier to work with in making a collage. As far some of my other collages, I would use wallpaper paste in order to use them.
Oh, I never thought of that.
It can be a little messy. My other, and I don't mind telling people, it's pretty simple, is I use Avery glue sticks, and specifically Avery because it's acid-free.
Ah, good trick to know,
You know.
people. Very good trick.
Yeah, acid-free on your papers. But I just wanted to say one other thing in regards to the colors, and part of it being my adolescence and what I was surrounded by in the 60s and early 70s, but also I really feel it was partly a palette of New England. And I know these look awfully bright and colorful, but there's a lot of earth tones and a very muted, where I grew up, there was a lot of wooded areas, a lot of oranges and greens of pines and the beach sands. I grew up down on the South Shore near Duxbury. Different shades of the water and of the sky. So I don't think I consciously pick out a color because I say, oh, this reminds me of the beach sands. Yeah. But I think that's part of my subconscious that comes through.
And it's your eye. It's what you do to balance
yes.
your color. And it works well in these. They're exciting. They have a lot of, they take the eye, they keep it busy.
Yeah.
Now, it's different in a way with these pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what did you do? How were these created?
As I was telling you a few minutes ago about the larger pieces that are more mixed media, I'll start with something else. So, for example, this piece here, um, the base of it, you'd have to get really close at it to look at it and see. But the foundation is a piece of vintage floor linoleum.
Okay.
And I mounted that piece of floor linoleum onto the panel.
It's a
And
wood panel?
It's a wood panel.
Okay.
And then I mount that linoleum onto it. And then I start drawing on top of the linoleum in response to the patterns that are there.
What kind of material do you draw with?
First I draw with a graphite,
Mhm.
like a very soft graphite. And then once I'm committed to the drawing, I'll go into it with a wood burning tool. So when you look closely at my more mixed media pieces, you'll see the drawing is a very three-dimensional line. And that's because I commit to it with a wood burning tool.
This one has they have the amoeba thing going, which is a 60s pattern too, because people had amoeba tables and.
Yes. Sort of ARP
Yeah.
shapes, you know. I don't know where that came from. They're playful, they're organic, they're not specifically referential to something specific, but it's definitely cellular, organic, and
That's what the 60s was about, though, because it was space travel and
Yeah.
it was Pyrex sign. It's like everybody's house had that stuff that looked like your kitchen looked like you were making a formula.
yeah,
Because the Pyrex, the way you made, their mom made the coffee and everything,
yep,
it was all set up with those burners that were like Bunsen burner type stuff, and even the casseroles, because I collect a lot of that.
yep,
And you capture that. It's that everything is science, everything is exciting.
yeah.
It looks like I'm looking like at a slide, but it's better.
This one over there?
Both of them,
Yeah.
they just have this feeling of like I'm looking at science too, but it's fun science. It's
Mhm.
like you're playing with it and the images.
Yeah. And the second piece, similar process, different materials. The foundation was a vintage woman's scarf that had a floral pattern on it.
Okay.
Now you can't see the flowers anymore, but what you can see from the original is I'm not sure there's a specific word for it, the center of the flower.
Okay.
So the red parts that are
Mhm.
in that, that's the center of the flower. So all the petals were then covered over with a dress pattern.
Wow.
That's the brown.
And I love the scissors going. Do you see the
Yeah,
scissor up there?
that's part of the dress pattern that
Okay.
was on it. So it's quite a, it's a very unique process. I think my work is very unique. I've never seen anyone else do what I do. I mean, some people do collage, but like you had said, everybody does it different. And my mixed media pieces are definitely pretty unique for the
Yeah.
reasons you mentioned: color, composition.
And each of us has like a different eye for where we want things and the placement of color. And I just, the one closer to you,
Yeah.
sort of also has a African feel
Mhm.
to it in some of the because I love African textile. And some of it wouldn't be the colors that you would see in African textile, because African textile didn't have a lot of pastels. You don't find that. But like with the orange and the blue in the corner and the gold and ochre
Yep.
above, that sort of has that feeling of it. It could be African fabric, so which again is a 50s, 60s thing that people were looking at. So it's like moving. This would make great instead of a black light, you do a light with just
Yeah.
the Keith Maddie light
Uh-huh.
and it would be spinning, and it would be very cool.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned textiles, because I've thought a lot about it, but venturing into that realm is so big. If anyone out there knows anything about
If anyone,
textiles and would like to work with me, I would be very interested in having some of my designs reprinted and knowing where to go. And I think there's a lot of sources, some in the United States, some outside of the United States. Just like working with the tiles, you know, getting samples made.
It would be very nice. It would be great to have, like, you could have your couch covered in this would be
Well-
wonderful, and then a table done in this.
Actually, I thought your car.
Oh, wow.
You know, cars are so boring, right?
Yes.
Wouldn't it be great to have a car that was, I mean, why aren't cars designed by artists? Painted. They hire
You heard it
artists.
first here, people. You heard it first here.
Maybe there'd be too many accidents.
Yeah, they go, look at that car. No, look at, oh, and then, you know, but,
Right.
and then the inside and the outside. So that would really be weird.
That might be bit
Too
too
much.
busy. Yeah.
But if any car manufacturers are out there and you're looking for a new car,
Something unique and special. And
yeah.
out
And
of
this would
this
be
world.
perfect with the cars you don't have to drive yourself, because then you don't have to worry. You can just go with that, and that would be perfect.
Yeah.
Wow. It's like we need music with this too, because it's just you have your own rhythm going with it.
Well, you know, I'm kind of glad you mentioned music because I thought you might say, I don't know if it's a question that comes up, like what do you listen to when you're in your studio? Like some people listen to jazz, and you know, how does that influence their work?
If
Or
you say you listen to the Archies, I'm going to be very disappointed.
I don't.
Good.
I listen to music that makes me really happy. I mean, I guess that's what most people do, right? But I listen to Nina Hagen
Okay.
a lot. I love her. Joan is Policewoman. I don't know.
And these are people I don't know. That's okay.
Anthony and the Johnsons, the B-52s.
Okay, heard of them.
You know.
Just-
So it's a whole range of.
and I usually create like in silence.
Sometimes I do that as well, just to the sound of the traffic outside.
Yeah.
You know, silence is a good medium to work with.
But a lot of times people say, well, what music? You must be listening to jazz. You must be doing this. And I'm like, no, I'm just like thinking I should be cleaning, but instead I'm painting and I'm doing, you know, so it's whatever is the sounds are around you.
Yeah.
Some people do nature. I would never do nature.
No, birds or
No.
streams or.
No, I'm not that. And bees, no.
No,
Bees,
no.
ants, it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
I have a friend, God bless her, she still tries to get me to Florida. I'm like, you have gators. It's not going to happen. So it's just, how long does it take you to do a piece?
It varies. I'm not in my studio full time, so you know, this is my most recent work, and it's a series that I'm working on. They're all the same size. They're all 11 inches by 11 inches, and they take approximately a month. You know, and I laugh. I tell my friends that I was in the studio today for 5 hours, and I might have placed 3 pieces.
But that's what happens.
But it took 5 hours to place those 3 pieces. And a lot of times I think of my work as like kind of poetry sometimes as well, you know. And how long does it take to write a poem sometimes,
Forever,
you know?
depending on the poet.
Yeah.
Because people will ask, like, how long does it take and what your workspace looks like. What does your workspace look like? Are you in a studio space of your own, or?
Yeah, yeah. It's very organized, you know. A lot of books, a lot of
We love books.
ephemera, boxes, and
But you're organized ephemera, right? I
very-
have ephemera all over the place.
I have to know where my specific ephemera is. I need to know when I'm looking for certain things where what box they're in, you know. But sometimes, you know, sometimes it gets a little messy, and often I'll work on several things at the same time.
Mm-hmm. But do you do a lot of series work?
Yeah, you know, like these were sort of a part of a series. I just was working on a 12 by 12, and that was the series, just the size.
Mm-hmm. Some people go by theme, but some people by size or
Yep.
color.
Well, I think the color permeates across my work. I don't have a theme. I never have a theme because when I'm working with everything, it's the material. I guess the material and process is my theme.
Mm-hmm.
And so I let that I never know from the beginning. There's never an unknown outcome. I don't sketch something ahead of time or say this is what I want this to look like, or I just let the material sort of guide me.
And that's what, well, some people do that, and other people just throw it up in the air, and that's how it lands up, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, well, some of the Dadaists did that. Um,
And that's a whole school of art that we don't have time to get into,
correct.
but it's an abstract school, and it's all, go look it up, people. That's what we're here to do, stimulate your minds about art.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you'll, people loved your work in Open Studios, didn't they?
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Yep. I have.
You have
You know what?
fans, don't you?
A what?
You have fans.
I do have fans, and I've been making art for. I mean, I graduated from Mass Art in '92, so I've been making art for a long time, and and it's like I said, it's very unique, and so people know my work. It's very recognizable, and they keep coming back, and
Did you start out as an abstract artist?
yeah, I started out with collage from the beginning, and
'Cause some people start with especially if they're in art school, they go representational,
Right.
and then there's that battle in art school,
you learn the foundation of.
and then you have to make that jump, but depending on the crowd you're with and your teachers.
I was very lucky at Mass Art. The teachers that I had allowed me to sort of explore and do what I wanted to do, which was always mixed media, different materials, drawing and painting, and bringing different materials together and seeing, how I could incorporate them and balance them together and how I could make them work.
And different teachers for different people. Like I had someone that looked at my work, he said, I don't know whether to kill you or let you go on like this. I guess I'll let you go on like this. So, but he wanted to give me more foundation, but then he said, no, you're off and running in a certain area, so
Yeah.
stay with that. I just love the work. I love the colors, and it does have that nice, comfortable vintage feeling to it. I truly enjoy it. And you will be here for the month of April and May.
Yep.
So, and everyone knows where SCAT is, so you don't need me to say anything. We have great hours. You can take the bus here
Yeah.
and spend the day and look very hipster cool,
Mhm.
coming to the gallery and a TV station, and then looking at the work. This is the perfect date for someone. Short, you don't know each other, it's be small, that's good. And then, part or whatever.
Grab
And
a coffee.
how nice is it? We met at SCAT, at the SCAT Gallery. That would be a whole new show. Romances
Uh-huh.
at SCAT Gallery. Wouldn't that be so nice? What kinds of words of inspiration do you give, or what challenges that you foresee people doing collage? That
Well, for collage or any kind of art, whether it's poetry or music or painting or drawing or sculpture, when I make my work, what I think draws me to it is it's just finding things that you love. I mean, and I don't go to a lot of galleries. I don't look at a lot of other artwork. But what inspires me is nature or being outdoors, swimming, and the things that go on in my mind as I'm doing those and feeling alive. And again, like I said earlier, it's more of a subconscious thing. I don't sit there and say, oh, well, this pattern comes directly from this experience of swimming at Walden Pond 3 or 4 times a week, or running for some people, and that adrenaline rush that comes with that. When
I would
they
never
clear their
understand
mind.
that part about the exercise.
Uh-huh.
That part I don't get.
Or anything that you love. I mean, some people love, if you
Eating
love
ice cream.
eating ice cream, and just the sensations, the taste buds that go crazy and wild, or the thoughts that go along with it, or people that love animals and the joy that, what it's like, to pet an animal, and visualizing that in another form. I mean, I don't know if that's
And
too abstract for people to.
No, but to translate that as your mission, that's like everyone has something that they're doing. They're taking some pattern or something and translating it for their in their own language, and hopefully someone else understands it. So, and finding that that communication.
Yep.
It's what artists do, and whether it's verbal or it's recreating an experience, and sometimes without words, so that you can bring, like you said, nature. I like urban. I like being around, city, the lights. I love that.
Yep.
Some people like shadows. So, and you can see it in the clothing too, because this colors sort of match over
Yes,
here.
in a little vintage style. And
Yeah,
yep.
and so people, you can sort of see what people are doing. They're pretty consistent.
Nostalgia,
I don't want us to consider ourselves nostalgic. It's nostalgia. Okay, you can be nostalgic, but we are not nostalgia.
Right.
And you have to come down here and see the work.
Yeah, please do. Please.
And the artists will be, so you can find him somewhere. We'll drag him out of wherever he is.
You can have a preview by going to keithmaddy.com.
Ah, okay.
And if you like what you see there, then come and see it in person, and you can see the detail of the work in person.
You have to be here to appreciate the colors. And fortunately for many of you, it's for sale. So don't be shy.
There you go.
Wonderful gifts for mom, dad, anybody, relatives, yourself.
Absolutely. Everybody needs something to bring them joy and they can live with.
So I'm loving this. And all of you will love it too. So you must come down to the Scat Gallery. We're at 90 Union Square. You know where it is. Don't make me come get you. And check out the man's work, because you are really going to enjoy it. And he has quite a bit up. So please come down. And I want to thank you so much for coming in. You brave soul, you.
Thank you.
And for showing us your work and sharing your creative process, some insights into your creative process, and inspiration for the other artists.
Yeah. Well, there was a little trepidation, I will be honest, but I really appreciate the opportunity.
Till, I guess, next month, when we come back and I invade your space again, and I come into your living rooms or dining rooms or some rooms I don't want to know about. But when you're watching us, just please tell your friends about the show, and we will see you, I guess, yes, next month. So I'm going to end with, as I usually do, Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be to you. Enjoy and keep creating and sharing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.